Pitfall was one of the most popular and fun Atari 2600 titles. A sequel was natural and almost inevitable. Pitfall 2: The Lost Caverns was released in 1984, 2 years after its predecessor on the same console. The fundamentals of the original are all there. You'll control Pitfall Harry through many screens, avoiding obstacles and hazards. This time, however, the environment is expanded greatly, as you'll go deep underground with 27 vertical levels as opposed to only 2 on the first game, with the bottom one only containing scorpions and brick walls. The rattlesnakes and the iconic crocodiles have been removed, but bats, condors, electric eels, and frogs have been added to the mix. For those that remember my Super Pitfall NES review, you might notice the similarities from these enemies, not to mention the general level design, the balloon that floats you up, and the game's story and prime objective, which is to find the diamond and rescue Quick Claw the lion and your niece Rhonda, who both went missing. Lost Caverns came out first, so that means that Super Pitfall borrowed a lot of elements from this game. But that game sucked, so why is it that Pitfall 2 is so superior to its apparent Super follow-up? Number 1, the controls are much more tight and fluid, particularly the jumping. Number 2, you don't have to spend the whole game jumping around everywhere looking for hidden keys, especially since the jumping doesn't suck. And number 3, there aren't any hidden warp zones that are inexplicably necessary to complete the game that you cryptically have to access by leaping into a specific enemy you see in many other places in the game. Now, I don't want to make this into a comparison video, nor a second rant on Super Pitfall, but I think it must be cleared up why this Atari 2600 game, which on paper bears strong resemblance to the shitty NES game, does not contain the same bad qualities that made its counterpart so awful. So back to how Pitfall 2 differs from the original. Instead of having 3 lives and a time limit, Harry has an infinite amount of both. When you die, you'll be sent back to the beginning or the last checkpoint you hit, which are these red crosses. These checkpoints are good because it prevents you from getting overly frustrated after making some serious progress and then going all the way back to the beginning after taking only one hit. The one-hit death system is in place here, by the way. The challenge factor of beating this game is greatly reduced by these checkpoints and the fact that you have infinite lives. The true test of this game, much like many other Atari games, is the point total. You'll lose points every time you die, so beating the game with the highest point total you can by avoiding death as often as possible and picking up all the treasures for bonus points will reward you with a greater sense of accomplishment. There's also now the ability to swim, as some parts of the game have water. One of the more notable additions is the soundtrack, which plays constantly throughout the game. The music is fantastic, thanks to the DPC chip that was installed into the cartridge to give the game greater sound capabilities. Unfortunately, this trend never caught on with future games for the Atari 2600, as the decline in popularity with video games at the time was taking its toll. There are no difficulty settings, but the large amount of terrain to explore combined with the incentive to beat the game with more points keeps the replay value high. Pitfall 2 has all the qualities a great game needs: good control, pleasant graphics, a solid fun factor level, a well done soundtrack. It's top notch all around. It may not have been as popular as the original, but it certainly improved on it, which is saying a lot considering how great Pitfall was. It's too bad that the Pitfall franchise couldn't quite keep up with this level of success down the road, as this was a natural genre to fit into any generation of consoles. Some of these games were good, but they never could quite capture the magic they had with these first 2.